Law Talk with Nick Maruchak, thanks to MKI Legal, your trusted employment and family lawyers.
I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won.
Alrighty, let's see if the law can help you today. 133 882. Nick Maruchak from MKI Legal's right here to take your calls. So get on the blower and give us a call. Hello, Nick.
Hello, Gary.
How you going?
I'm very great, thank you.
That's good. Now, you were listening, I think. Well, just Cassie, hold on there for a sec. You were listening to what Veronica was telling us in terms of that scam at the hands of a scammer who basically adopts her name, gets all her information through her telecommunications provider, manages to change phone numbers, get new SIM cards, and then from there is able to use that to get into her bank accounts. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I was in the car listening to that, and it's a very tragic story, and I feel for Veronica. So one of the things that kind of came to mind, and I would like to think about this more, but one of the things is make a request under the Privacy Act for all the information that Telstra and ANZ has on her, right? So then you can, that's the first step of gathering the evidence to see exactly what went wrong. So they have to give you that information under the Privacy Act. You get that, and then you can make an assessment of going, okay, did the bank and Telstra fall short of the standards expected of them? Bank is regulated by the Banking Code of Conduct. Telstra has regulations. Then potentially you can go to the Telecommunication Ombudsman or AFCA, which regulates the bank, right? And if there was a privacy breach you can go to the Privacy Commissioner, and they can order compensation. They can order also compensation for the loss of financial loss she suffered. They can also order compensation for distress, anxiety. They can potentially fine them as well.
Right.
So there are a few avenues that are going that potentially she can explore. But I think the first step is just getting as much data as you can.
Get that information. So I suppose, Veronica's still listening. The advice is if you don't get what you want straight back from Telstra and the ANZ, then you've got to put them on notice that you're going to go further.
Yeah.
And that's it in a nutshell. And then you go down that process.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we'll see. We'll see what happens when the ANZ respond properly to her concerns, and we'll certainly bring it to you. Let's go to the lines if we can. Cassie's there. It's in relation to a home build. Now, what's happened, Cassie?
Yes. Hi. Thanks, Gary and Nick. I built a house in late 2020. The build was smooth, and then handover was in May 2021, so we're just over 3 years now. And there were issues at the handover to be rectified by the 6-month limit, and the issues to date have still not been rectified. I phone them, I call into the office, the builder's not available, can't take my call. I email the list as a reminder, and I'm just given excuses and fobbed off. One time I got told in an email, you should be thankful you got your house built. I have existing builds to do. I'll deal with yours later. And that was a year ago.
A year ago?
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, the classic fob off, that we hear about where businesses, hopefully think that you'll think it's too hard and give up. So you got 6 years here to go to the Building Commission, right? So you're within that 6-year time frame. You've tried to resolve it with the builder directly. That hasn't worked. So the next step is lodging a complaint with the Building Commission. You can threaten, you can write to them and go, look, I'll give you one last chance here to try and resolve this, to try come up and fix the work. If you don't, I'm going to the Building Commission. So then you lodge that with the Building Commission. A number of things can happen. They might send one of their people over to inspect it. You'll go through a process, and if you're successful, the Building Commission can order a building remedy order where they force the builder to fix all those cracks. There's also another option as well. So all builders have to have building insurance, which lasts that 6-year period, and this is done in case the builder goes bust, right? So we're seeing builders go bust.
Oh yeah.
So the insurer picks up the tab, and so you can also get potentially investigate making a claim under the insurance policy that's required by law. So can you just tell us a little bit what stuff that went wrong with the build?
Well, the build itself was fine, and the issues, you mean like what are the issues?
Yes.
Yeah, they're kind of like cosmetic, but they're still aggravating. Like the fake lawn that was put down from the beginning, they used 3 different pieces so that it's very obvious where the joins are. They didn't put the under weed barrier, so it's riddled with weeds. It wasn't secured properly, and it's been lumpy and wavy since it was laid. There's the alfresco gutter that overflows just in light rain. The crossover was cracked on the beginning of construction, and the neighbour took photos and has them dated, and the neighbour's still hounding me saying, when's your builder going to fix the crossover? The fence, a couple of the pieces of the colour-bond fence are wobbly and loose, and you can actually hold it and wobble it, back and forth kind of thing. I'm just wondering when a big storm's going to remove it. Gutters, downpipes aren't flush to the pavers in the alfresco. There's, bits and pieces type thing.
Jeez.
Some electrical power points aren't fitted, secured to the front plate falls off, and the dimmers aren't working properly.
Good Lord. I tell you,
Yeah,
and you get no help. Like that, do they say at all that they can see that, this needs to be done? It's just a matter of when?
Yeah, they say, we'll get there next week.
Right.
Oh, no, it was raining, so we can't come. Few weeks. I even have a building broker who put me in touch with the builder, and the building broker is in the newspaper often. He has half a page. And, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but...
Not at the moment.
And I look at it and I think, if people only knew, you're supposed to be my representative and you fobbed me off.
Right. Okay. What do you think? There's only so much you can sort of tiptoe around this, Nick. Do you just get a lawyer, draw up a legal letter and say, we're coming after you unless you sort this out? You got 1 month from now. Is that fair enough?
Look, sometimes getting a letter from a lawyer is just, a quick letter to them. They'll take it more seriously, and that might cause them to go, okay, we don't want this to go any further. We know we're in the wrong. Let's just comply. So that might help. So that might be a step. Otherwise, you're going to the building commission. You're going to go through that process. That's going to take time. And if the decision is public, that's going to hurt their reputation as well. So I think that you should definitely take it further. And the good news is that the stuff that they've done is defective. Sometimes I'm not a builder, you're not a builder. You look at things, you go, well, does this meet minimum standards? And it sounds like clearly they've admitted that it doesn't. So they've got to fix it. You definitely take it further. I think now it's threaten the building commission, or just maybe a quick letter from a lawyer, or just go to the building commission. And I think I'm pretty sure that... Hopefully.
You got to wave a big stick sometimes, Rachel. Sorry, Cassie. I know that you're trying to work with them, but it sounds to me like you can just about given up on working with them, and you just need to sort of say, righto, we're going to court unless you get on with this. Yeah. See how you go, Cassie. Let us know, will you? Obviously MKI Legal's a law firm out there, but you do what you need to do. 133 882. We're talking to Nick Maruchak from MKI Legal. If you'd like some advice, give us a call. Hey, just on the line, text line. Good morning. How do you request your information under the Privacy Act? Is it a verbal request or an email or via a lawyer, or what do you do?
So for just every big company that makes more than $3 million a year has to have a privacy policy. So just, for example, ANZ, go to their website, have a look at their privacy policy. They'll tell you how to make that request. It's got to be in writing, and you just got to give sufficient details for them to identify the documents you're seeking, right? So they'll tell you exactly where to send it to. There's usually a privacy officer that's in the organisation that you either email or mail your request to, and they've got a certain period of time to get that to you. Usually 45 days is the normal time frame, I believe, and then they should get the documents to you.
Well, can you ask, Nick, though, can I ask as part of that process any emails that might be in relation to my accounts, particularly around a matter like what Veronica went through, where clearly there must have been some, I bet you there's a level of communication when the scammer is trying to, withdraw the money. There might be at least an email from someone that showed some concern about this, and even though it wasn't raised to a suspicious transaction level, it would appear, but there might have been an email suggesting it should have been. Can you get all that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you can get information that relates to your personal information, right? The records this company holds about you. So all that information that you mentioned would I believe, classify as personal information. There are a few exemptions, right? So, so if it relates to other people, they'll usually redact it out. But yeah, anything that relates to your personal information, definitely that applies. So, and that'll be a good step because then you're gathering that evidence and you're going, okay, that they take file notes when they're on the calls.
Yeah.
And
way that they tell you things are being recorded, all that sort of stuff. So maybe, what about the audio? If there is audio, can you access that?
I would make an application to access that. And if you can't get it on the Privacy Act, you can definitely get it if you go down to the court system through a subpoena, right? So whatever you can't get through the Privacy Act, that you can definitely get through court subpoena process. And the court subpoena process will also give you everything basically, and usually it's non-redacted as well unless there's good reason.
Okay.
So,
all right, interesting. So there are ways, but you just got to make the effort. If they're leaving you high and dry, you might as well. 133 882. We're going to come back, Len, just to stick around in relation to this accident in a car that you're questioning. It's 11:15. Len's on the line. Nick Maruchak with me from MKI Legal. Len, you leased a car and there was an accident. Just tell us about it.
Yeah. Good morning, Gary. Morning, Nick.
Hello.
Back in 2019, I leased a vehicle off a rental company here in Perth, and I was doing Uber, and at the time, I was operating out of Mandurah, and I got T-boned by a lady, and I wasn't at fault at all. And when I leased the car, I paid $1,000 deposit, and the company, even though I wasn't at fault, refused to give me back my $1,000 deposit. They said that their car was written off and they had no comeback. And I just want to know what I can do there, Nick, please.
Yeah, so do you remember when you signed those documents when you leased the car, what they told you?
Well, apparently you get your money back, obviously, when you hand the car back over.
Yep.
Whatever, but they said because of the accident, and even though I had a police report and everything saying I wasn't at fault, they still refused to give me my money back, $1,000.
Oh, okay. So, because usually when you hire these cars, they kind of say, so did that offer you extra insurance in case there's an accident?
No, they didn't. Like, there was an excess, but, that you had to pay or whatever if you were at fault. But it didn't, because I wasn't at fault, obviously I had the details of the driver and everything, and so did the police report and everything, saying that, I was just an innocent driver that was being T-boned, and, hence they refused to give my $1,000 back.
I think he needs to. Well, Nick, you tell me. He needs a lawyer.
Well, I think. Look, like not your fault. Sometimes, okay, and
no faults. Excess, get that bit. But after that,
the excess, right? So. Yeah, I think potentially. So what was the insurance on the car? Because it's like they have that insurance. They give you that extra insurance. And then, so did you take that extra insurance up or not?
You didn't take up
No,
any
I didn't.
extra,
I mean, because the car, when you lease a car, it comes with everything. You're insured everything. Because I was driving for Uber, you have to have a fully insured car. And they cover the insurance. They cover everything that goes with it.
Yeah.
Well, I've leased a car before, mate, so I know what you're saying. Yeah, I've just interrupted you there, Len. I've gone through leasing a car. I've done it before. Long time ago, but everything like that, insurance wasn't an issue that I had to bother with. It was all part of the car deal, I reckon.
I reckon Department of Commerce, right? So make a complaint to Department of Commerce here for trading issues, right? Because it's $1,000, right? You're out of pocket $1,000, and you have to read the terms and conditions of the contract. That's the boring part. You got to read that. Find that clause that relates to accident. What happens if there's an accident? If the clause is pretty unfair, there are laws that regulate unfair contract terms. If it's pretty clear that you're entitled to your money back in the contract in the event of a no-fault accident, well, you can get them. You've got 6 years to get your money back. Maybe a quick letter from a lawyer or going to Department of Commerce, and they'll have to pay you back. But if the contract says, look, it doesn't matter who's at fault, you lose your deposit straight away.
Yeah, maybe.
I think potentially unfair contract term there, because that to me is that might be a bit too harsh.
Right. Well, hey, Len, just quickly, if you don't know a lawyer, obviously, I can say that MKI Legal, I'm sure, can help. But I mean, it sounds like you need to have a lawyer read that contract to work out yes or no you've got a case. That's what I think. And I think Nick agrees with that. So, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I would have just thought that it was wrapped into that contract, the insurance side of it. So that's an interesting one. Now, Margaret's on the line. What's happening, Margaret?
Oh, good morning, Gary and Nick. How you going?
Hello.
How can we
Hello.
help you? Yeah, we're hearing. How can we help?
Yeah. My question is, I'm actually asking on behalf of a neighbour, but the son is pressing charges against his father for stealing and domestic violence. Now, the son has given him access with the credit card to his bank account, which he has been taking from, but only ever buying like things for his lunches and morning tea. Now, somebody has told them that if either one of them seeks the aid of legal aid, that the other one isn't able to get it because it's a conflict of interest. Is this correct or what?
Yeah, so basically legal aid, as I understand it, they run an internal service. They have internal lawyers. I've got a good friend of mine that works at legal aid. So when you apply for legal aid, they assess you for criminal charges. Definitely, you can get legal aid. It's very common. You have to meet the income and means test, right? So if you got enough money or enough assets, they won't give it to you. But once you pass that test, then legal aid either does the work internally or they palm it off to an external lawyer. And I've seen lots of cases where both sides are represented by legal aid. So if legal aid does it internally, they probably can't. That would be a conflict. So then they have something called a panel of lawyers where a lawyer registers on the panel and then they can get legal aid. And there's also something called duty lawyers, right? So whenever you get charged with a crime, you go to the magistrate's court, something like, on the lower end. On the day you rock up, you call legal aid and you go, I've been charged. Say you did it and you want to plead guilty. You rock up and then there's a lawyer there that will help you explain the charges and even stand in front of the judge and plead guilty for you and try and get you the lowest sentence. So, yeah, that's not quite right. Legal aid can definitely represent both people here. And they would just palm it off. They wouldn't do it internally. They would just palm it off to a panel.
So you reckon Margaret should go back and say, the neighbour should go back and say, what about the panel of lawyers that's available outside of legal aid? Can't we do that? Yeah, Margaret, that sounds like you might be able to advise them to do that bit.
Because if legal aid was conflicted, do you know how many people miss out on legal aid?
I was going to say.
It's parenting disputes and crime. Two people are both committing a crime together. They're both co-defendants. One person will miss out on legal aid, and the other person gets it. No, our system would collapse if that was the case.
So in other words, if you're still there, Margaret, it sounds like you need to tell them they need to go back and get further advice around that and ask the questions about the panel and so on, what's available.
And just give legal aid a call and speak directly to the source.
Okay. All right. Okay. Look, thanks very much for the calls today, folks. We have run out of time. Nick Maruchak, as always, thanks very much for coming in and dealing with people's issues. It's invaluable and we appreciate it.
Thank you, Gary.
That's Nick Maruchak from MKI Legal. We are coming up to 4 minutes to 11.